Let me tell you a story about a director that made a great film at only 25. The director was Orson Welles, and if you don't know who he was the guy that directed Citizen Kane.
Every list of great films, many of them lead with Citizen Kane and say it's the finest film made. Do you agree?
No, certainly not.
That's
My
interesting.
next one is, though. That's the...
The Magnificent Amnesty.
No, the one I'm preparing at this moment.
Oh, the next one.
That's
Next
it.
one.
That's going to make history.
Could you give us the title of that?
I haven't decided what it is yet.
Oh.
Now, during his career, Orson completed 13 films, but by the time he died in 1985, when I was born, he had 15 more movies that were never completed.
Citizen Kane, the greatest motion picture ever made.
Made such a great movie, and then whatever happened to Orson Welles?
I was recently talking to a friend of mine that said he doesn't want to do YouTube anymore or any type of short films because they seem to take forever to finish, and he really doesn't think he's going to get much out of it. And even though I think he is right to a certain degree, he doesn't get much out of it now. And even though it's a lot of work, he's missing the point. I don't think it's about how long it takes. But to be fair, I think everything seems impossible to make, or it takes forever when you've never done it before. But why do movies seem to take so long to make, and why does even a YouTube video seem to take forever to make?
He was a giant of a man who made Citizen Kane, who once scared America half to death with his War of the Worlds.
Why not?
The chance to make my films in America has been very hard, but I think it's getting easier. Pictures are becoming more adventurous. The opportunities ahead of me are greater, much than they were 5 years ago.
In the movie Othello that came out in 1952 by the same director, Orson Welles, there's a fight scene where someone throws a punch. Now, right after that, they had to stop production so that the director could work and make more money to complete his project. It took 3 years to make this film. And it said that they shot the reaction shot of the guy getting punched 2 years later and more than 1,000 kilometers away. And the production budget was so sketchy, they shot in 9 different towns across Africa and Europe. And at one point, even the armor of one of the characters was made out of sardine can. So forget about YouTube. When it comes to financing and finishing your own production, there's a whole level of it takes forever right there, because Orson Welles' final movie came out 40 years later on Netflix.
When Orson Welles died yesterday, he was, as he had been most of his life, in the midst of several film projects.
His later years never matched the promise of his early years.
He drifted off to lesser work.
Movies were never finished. There was this one, The Other Side of the Wind, about the world-famous filmmaker, perhaps Wells' vision of himself.
And I can understand why most of us don't want to do things when we're really not that good at it, and only stick to things that make us feel appreciated. It's natural we don't want to step out of our comfort zone, but that's just it. You start to make a difference when you're not comfortable. In filmmaking, even before the first scene is shot, there's scripting, casting, location scouting, security permits, and a whole bunch of logistics that can take weeks or even months, even for low-end projects. And when it comes to how we feel about things taking a lot of time, I read recently an article that said that most people feel that time passes slowly when they're young, but then speeds up when they're older. When you're young, you're more impressionable. You're constantly being introduced to new things and ideas, and many of the things we do them for the first time, obviously. So they leave an impression in our mind. And also, when you're a child, let's say you're 10, for a 10-year-old, 1 year is 10% of their lives. That's a lot, so every experience matters. For a 60-year-old, 1 year is less than 2% of their lives. So there's a lot of experiences stacked together. Nothing is really new anymore, and there's not much to really surprise them.
Almost any story is almost certainly some kind of lie. But not this time.
Now, whether it's a scientific answer or it has more to do with our understanding on how we choose to view the answer, I think as filmmakers or as YouTubers, we have to redefine forever. and what that means to us, because every time you do something for the first time, it almost seems impossible and it really does take forever. But every time after that, it takes 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 week less because you've done it and you feel more comfortable. So the lesson I learned about watching the documentaries on Orson Welles and a few of his movies in recent weeks is that words like forever and words like impossible means something else every time. It takes just a bit less, and every time we do something, we redefine what those words used to mean to a lot of us. So go create something. It doesn't have to be on YouTube or Instagram. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to mean something to you.